In today's video, we're going to do a fraction review. So we will and these notes will be added to our next section of notes. So please don't lose them. So the first thing I want to talk about is converting between a mixed number and an improper fraction. So we will do improper fraction back and forth between an improper fraction and a mixed number. Improper fraction. Okay, so let's look at an improper fraction. Well, let's say I had let's say I had 10 over 7. Well, the way I would turn it into a mixed number is we have 10 divided by 7. So I would say use long division. I go 10 divided by 7. And now what we're going to do is do our long division. And we'll see where all the different numbers pop out and where they go. So I'm going to use purple for my quotient. So 7 goes into 10 one time. 1 times 7 is 7. Then I subtract, and I have 3. And then my remainder is 3. So now the way we can write our answer is we take our whole number, the 1. So we have 1. And then our remainder is our new numerator, 3. And then our denominator stays the same. So that would be a 7. So 10 sevenths is 1 and 3 sevenths. Now if I want to turn this back into an improper fraction, what I will do is multiply, and then after I multiply, I add. My denominator will stay the same. So we'll do 7 times 1 is 7. 7 plus 3 will be 10. And my denominator will stay the same. 10 over 7. So here is how we can turn an improper fraction into our mixed number. And then we can turn our mixed number back into an improper fraction. Okay. Next thing we want to look at is adding fractions. And the most important part, so we have really just a couple steps. Step 1 is find common denominator. And step 2 will be combine numerators. Denominator stays the same. So let's look at an example. Let's say I want to add 1/3 plus 2/5. Well, the easiest way to combine, to find a common denominator is to just use the denominator from one fraction to multiply with the other. And what I mean by that is if I have 5 over here, I can multiply this denominator by 3 times 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And I can do the same thing over on this side. If I started with a 3 and my other denominator is 5, I can multiply this one by 5. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. Now we'll do our multiplication. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 3 is 15. Bring my plus sign down. 2 times 3 is 6, and 5 times 3 is 15. Now we combine numerators. 5 plus 6 is 11, and denominator stays the same, so that would be 15. There we go. So by multiplying the denominators together, the 3 and the 5, 3 times 5, we can always get a common denominator this way. 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 3 is 15. And we just have to remember whatever I do to the bottom, I do the same thing to the top. Okay, let's go ahead and turn this over and look at multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions is pretty straightforward. Step 1, multiply numerators. And step 2, multiply denominators. So say we're multiplying 3/4 times 2/5. We multiply our numerators together. 3 times 2 is 6. And then 4 times 5 is 20. And then when we're done, we have a third step we can do, which is simplify or reduce. And that's where I can divide both the numerator and denominator by the same number. So let's divide, they're both divisible by 2, so I can divide by 2. And we get 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So step 1 was multiply our numerators together. Step 2 is multiply our denominators together. Then we simplify our fraction if possible, and then we get our final answer. One last skill will be dividing fractions. So when we're dividing fractions, what we're going to end up doing is multiplying fractions. So we have this saying, we call it keep, change, and flip. So let's say I'm dividing two fractions. If I have 3/4 divided by 2/7, I'm going to keep. So 3/4 will stay 3/4. Then I'm going to change. I change division to its cousin, which is multiplication. And then I'm going to flip. And when I flip, 2/7 becomes 7/2. And now we're just going to multiply these fractions together. Where we multiply the numerators, 3 times 7 is 21. And we multiply the denominators, 4 times 2 is 8. Now let's convert this into a mixed number. To do that, we will use long division, where we have 21 divided by 8. 8 goes into 21 2 times. Let's use some color so we can keep it straight. 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Then we subtract. 21 minus 16 is 5. So I get remainder 5. So we'll have 2, our whole number. 5, our remainder, is our numerator. And then our denominator, 8 stays the same. So to divide fractions, we did our keep, change, flip. Keep it the same. First fraction, keep the same. Division becomes multiplication, and the second fraction will flip. Then we multiply our fractions, numerator times numerator. 3 times 7 is 21. 4 times 2 is 8. Then we will use our division, 21 divided by 8. And our long division with our remainder, our answer with our remainder, goes into our mixed number. So there's our review on fractions. Hopefully you followed along, and hopefully this is helpful in when you start using fractions more.